we're getting close to the end of the conversation here, but I always like leaving everybody off with one last piece of advice. So we'll go around the circle. We're not going to start with Mark this time. I'll start with you, Nori, and we'll work around me this way. So someone looking out there who feels like they either want to get involved or organize themselves, what's a piece of advice you'd give someone looking to do something like that?
I would say start with like self-reflecting on like how you want, like how organizable you want to be.
Yeah.
Like how ready you want to be. Like I feel like a lot of time like organizers really not only have to like do most of the organizing and the work, but they actually have to go up and beyond to try and make it enticing for you to like come to this thing. So I think really just start thinking about I want, and like really make goals for yourself in terms of like what's actually the reason why you're getting involved, and then thinking more about like what things kind of fall under that category, and and not just be going for it for like, oh, there's like 100 of us doing this thing, so that's what makes it feel good. It's like it's the long term that really keeps these things going. So how organizable do you want it to be? Like how if someone tells you to come to this thing, whether you're actually going to be able to, like what's important about it? what
Whether it's 100 people or it's 5 people,
exactly.
If the heart's not there,
Right.
is it really worth doing?
Exactly.
That's great. I think that's really good. Shannon, how about you? What's a piece of advice you give someone looking out there to do the same things we do?
Yeah. Well, I think that like I have 2 key pieces of advice. One would be that might be uncomfortable. I think that this is something that people do because they love it and they want to affect change, not because it's like easy or comforting.
Yeah.
And I think being willing to listen is a huge piece of that, especially for like white folks who are looking to become involved in movements. I had a couple of groups that I wanted to suggest as like a concrete way.
Yeah.
For example, like I know a lot of people were really interested in organizing around Standing Rock when that pipeline was being fought. There's a really cool organization called UAIN, the United American Indians of New England. It's a Native-led organization, which is a really great resource for people like looking to get involved. I also wanted to recommend just a few others. There's an organization called Black and Pink. They focus on LGBTQ inmates with the focus towards prison abolition, but they do things like you can write letters to inmates as a pen pal. You can help transcribe mail. So there's like a lot of, there's so many different, like a million causes and a million ways you can get involved. There's also an organization called City Life Vida Urbana, which is, I think, particularly relevant here. They fight displacement and gentrification.
Wow. Yeah.
They provide resources for people, like lower-income folks who are being evicted. So I would just recommend people kind of do a little research, and like there's so many people like working on these causes that you can really like plug in, according to like whatever your interest is. There are people doing that work.
And I think that's a great point. Don't always be worried about being the one in charge or the one who built it in the first place. Any idea or any feeling you have is probably out there. Just like any band name we try to think of, there's probably a band out there. It's the same thing with activism. I feel like if there's a cause, someone's working towards that already. And
and there's so many roles you can play. I mean, there are like flashy, like satisfying roles, and there are people who need to like wash the dishes and clean the house and watch the children.
Totally.
So it's like, according to everyone's ability, like you were saying, I mean, there's an endless amount of things that like folks can do to get involved.
Right.
Very cool.
I guess if I can just add on to that real quick, like to my original point, just like I think to being organizable is just like see people who are doing radical work like that and people that you admire and really reaching out to them and make it like known that like, hey, like if you need me to do something, let me know, like I want to be involved, I want to do. And then when they do actually reach out and you do see something that's being online, whether it's something that you think is going to be really cool or etc., you know that you already made that commitment and you already like pose yourself to this person, to even to yourself or to someone else, and show up. And
that's true.
And,
I mean, with this show and with everything I've ever done, anybody who reaches out to me first and asks to help with me, I will love you forever. Andrea, you reached out to me, and she's behind our camera right now that I'm looking at, and she's been here for every show since, and she's been the biggest help. Same Marvin, thank you so much.
Adam Johnson, you kick out.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. You reach out to me, I will bug you forever until the end of time to help me with the weird things that I do, and if you're still into it, that's cool, and I'll help you anytime as well. But yeah, so James, real quick, one last piece of advice you got.
I think you should honestly interrogate your theory of change when you're trying to embark on something involved in activism, but at the same time, and almost as a contradiction, radical knowledge comes out of movement organizing itself and comes out of doing activism, and so that's sort of a cycle.
Yeah.
So you have to always be reflecting on your practice and.
Well, that brings a great point off the top of the show. I was talking about confidence, and I think me and you have actually talked about this before, where I think confidence is 50% complete self-realization and 50% complete delusion on yourself. So you have to be completely strong and be like, I'm great and everything I'm doing is working, but at the same time critically analyze every move you make. And I think that's a great point to make. Very cool. Mark, last on the bill. What's one last piece of advice from you, homie?
Y'all said it. I don't know.
Give us the good heartwarming one at the end.
Good heart. You know what? Okay, yeah, I got one.
Okay.
It's don't get too hung up on ideological differences when you're working with people.
Totally.
You know, we're not all on the same page, but we're all working together, and a lot of us are working really hard.
Unity. No left.
He's wanting to fight.
No left unity. Oh, I knew this was going to get heated at some point.
Well, no, but because it's everything that we're fighting for is important. There's not a hierarchy here.
No.
But sometimes we're working together here on a specific task, and we want to stay focused there. And sometimes there's like people in the room that kind of suck.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, sometimes we have to boot them out. Sometimes we have to tolerate them. But we have to think about that. We have to figure out the best way to move forward with this incredibly diverse, complex movement with lots of different people here. We're all here, you know, like Stanley from The Office, as he says. We don't have to get along. We just have to work together.
There you go.
There's no I in team.
There's no I in team.
But don't take anyone's shit
there's
either.
an
Let me be
MIT.
clear.